So imagine this. Nepal flips a switch and completely revamps its government, creating hundreds of brand new local bodies, each now in charge of their own money. The huge question was, how on earth do you get all of them, from a tiny village to a bustling city, to speak the same financial language? Well, the answer turned out to be a piece of software called SuTRA, and today we're going to demystify it and see how it's completely changing the game. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with why SuTRA was even created in the first place. Then we'll peek under the hood and see what it actually is. We'll walk through the very first steps of getting started, then get into the core workflow, how it all fits together, and finally, we'll zoom out and talk about why this whole thing really matters. So, first up, let's tackle that why. To really get why SuTRA is so important, you first have to understand the massive problem it was built to solve. This was the central challenge, right? Suddenly you have 753 local governments. Every single one needs to make a budget, track its spending, and create reports. You can just imagine the potential for chaos if everyone was doing it their own way. It would have been impossible to get a clear picture of anything. And here's the kicker. Creating a system like SuTRA wasn't just a good idea or a suggestion. It was literally written into the law. The country's new constitution flat out required a unified system. The goal was to make sure every single rupee of public money could be tracked and managed the same way everywhere. This was non-negotiable. Okay, so we understand the problem. Now let's look at the solution they came up with. What exactly is SuTRA? So, in simple terms, SuTRA, which by the way stands for Sub-National Treasury Regulatory Application, a bit of a mouthful, I know, is the one single official online tool that all local governments use for all things money. We're talking from the very beginning, planning the budget, all the way to the very end, spitting out the final reports. It's the whole shebang. And this right here, this is what you see when you log in. It's the main dashboard, kind of like the command center for a local government's finances. Each of these blue boxes you see is a different module, and each one handles a specific piece of the financial puzzle. And this table really shows you how it all works. You've got a module for the budget, one for all the money coming in, your revenue, one for all the money going out, your expenditures, and of course one to generate all the reports. It's a complete cycle, all neatly organized in one place. Okay, this all looks powerful for sure. But how does a local government official who might not be a tech wizard actually get up and running? Well, let's just quickly walk through it. It's actually way simpler than you might think. First things first, you just go to the official website. No software to download, no complicated installation. You just need a web browser. Then, you pop in the username and password that the Central Support Office gives you. Super straightforward. Now, for security, the very first thing the system makes you do is change that temporary password to something new, something only you know. Smart. You get a little confirmation message, and that's it. You're in. Your account is secure, and you are ready to start managing finances. All right, so we're in the system. Now, to actually use it, we have to talk about the single most important idea in all of SuTRA. It's something called the budget subheading. And honestly, everything revolves around this. This 11-digit number, this is the absolute heart of the system. Think of it like a unique digital fingerprint or a special tracking code for every single financial activity. A new health post, road repairs, office supplies, everything gets its own unique code. And you don't have to take my word for it. This quote from the official manual says it all. This code isn't just a label. It's the glue that connects the budget, the accounting, and the final reports. It's the foundation for everything. So what does one of these codes look like in the wild? Here is an example. Now, I know, at first glance, it just looks like a random string of numbers. But each part of this code tells a very specific story about that money. And this breakdown is where the magic happens. See that first digit? It tells you if it's a federal grant. The next few numbers pinpoint the exact location, province, district, and which specific town it is. And those last 3 digits, that's the actual program, like funding for the main office. It's an incredibly smart way to make sure every transaction is categorized perfectly. So what this system of codes creates is this super clean, logical workflow. You start by creating these unique codes for everything you plan to do. Then you figure out how much money you expect to come in. You assign that money to different projects using their codes. Once the local council gives the thumbs up, the budget gets locked in. And from then on, every single transaction is tracked against those codes, which makes reporting a breeze. Okay, let's zoom out again. We've seen what SuTRA is, we've seen how it works, but what's the real-world impact? Why does a system like this really matter for a country like Nepal? The benefits are pretty massive. For starters, you get uniformity. Everyone is finally playing by the same financial rules. That leads to way better accountability, because with a clear digital trail, it's a lot harder for money to get lost. It also makes reporting so much easier. And maybe most importantly, it creates a level of transparency into how public money is being spent that just wasn't possible before. And that kind of leads us to this final really big question. A tool like SuTRA, it's not just about accounting software and numbers. By bringing order and clarity to the most basic function of any government, handling our money, it's actually helping to build something much bigger. It's building trust between citizens and the local governments they elected. And in the end, that might just be its most powerful feature of all.